Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you as is usual. For this one we're going to go and do another Scottish beer review, part of the Scottish Beer Month series that I've been doing for you. So this is review number 9 in that series, and this is a very cool one today. We're actually going to go to the most northerly brewery in Scotland, which of course is the Valhalla Brewery, who are from Unst in the Shetland Isles. Meant to be a very beautiful place, but somewhere I've not managed to get to yet, but it is definitely on my to-do list. So as is usual then with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. This guy is a speciality beer actually, so it's one that is very unique to the Shetland Islands. So if you're watching my reviews from further afield, I recommend that you go and have a little look at the brewery website and read up a little bit about this beer, but I'll tell you a little bit more about it just in a minute. So the brewery website is in the video description for you below, so check that out, and there's also a link there that will take you to my future Valhalla beer reviews, and when I do eventually get to Shetland, I will bring the rest of their beers back with me to review. Their beers are quite hard to get outside of Shetland, and I'm not sure exactly why. I think it's maybe just very small capacity or something like that. But anyway, so to get on to the history of this brewery itself, as I mentioned to you, this is the most northerly brewery in the British Isles, and it's located on the island of Unst in the Shetland Isles in Scotland. And this is of course the second set of islands as you go away from the north coast of Scotland. The ones that are further north of that are obviously the Faroe Islands, which are an autonomous province of Denmark. But this brewery was actually founded by Sonny and Sylvia Priest in December of 1997, and it was initially intended that this brewery would only serve the local area in which it was located. So, but it has actually kind of expanded a little bit more, and you can find their beers kind of scattered throughout Scotland and the rest of the UK. But as I say, it is actually quite difficult to get a hold of their beers actually. I was very lucky because this guy appeared in the Aldi Scottish Beer Festival range, and I picked one up to review for you. But this brewery has a 4.5 barrel capacity brew plant that was brought in from a brew pub in Glasgow, and it has a Czech-made bottling line that was added to the brewery in 1999. At the height of their brewing in the summer, they do up to 3 brews per week, and the company are very proud to say that their products are made entirely in Shetland, and the majority of their production is actually confined to the locality of the brewery, but a small portion, i.e. guys like this, is cast and bottled and sent out to various outlets throughout Scotland and the UK. Exactly how far afield this beer reaches, I'm not sure, and I think they do have a product locator on their website, so check that out if you are interested. But to list the other beers you can get from this brewery, and they all are named after various different things in the Shetland Isles. So you have Auld Rock, White Wife, Simmer Dim, which is a golden bitter. That one refers to the fact that in Shetland in the summer you can get days where you don't have any darkness at all, it's just complete daylight. You get Old Scatness, which is a bitter, Sjöolment Stout, which is a dark ale, this one, or a stout if you like, and they also have Island Bere, which is this guy here, which is a speciality golden ale. So that's your kind of list of the beers you can get from Valhalla Brewery and a brief history. We'll move on to the tasting of this guy now. As I mentioned to you, this is quite a special beer. This is a 4.2% golden ale, and it uses Bere, which is spelled B-E-R-E. You can see on the bottle here the Island Bere if you like. So it's spelt like B-E-R-E, but it's pronounced bear, as in, you know, like the animal, I guess. But this is an ancient 6-row barley malt that is grown in Shetland. I think it's also grown in Orkney as well, but it's rumoured to have been introduced by the Vikings in the 8th century, and it's something that is very unique. So this is a speciality beer that is very unique to the Shetland Islands in Scotland. But it's also, this guy is also hopped with Cascade as well. So you've got a really interesting and unique malt base there, but it also does have a kind of element of familiarity with it, with this nice American hop. But I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one here. You can see one of the hop flowers, if you like, or the malt, the bear flowers, I guess you would describe it. That's on the bottle label here. It's got a really nice symbol, this brewery as well. You can see it's got the Viking long helmet. The Shetland Islands and Orkney Islands do have a lot of Viking heritage in them, and indeed so does the rest of Scotland, but it's a lot more pronounced up in the Northern Islands up there. Very nice place up there. As I say, I've not been there yet, but it's somewhere I really hope to go. It tells you a little bit about the brewery as well. One thing I should say actually is that Unst is the most northerly island in Shetland as well, so it is very north, pretty much as north as you can go in Scotland. But it just says on the back here, it has a little bit of a description: from the Valhalla Brewery in Unst, the most northerly island in Britain, comes a new speciality beer brewed brewed from Bere, a heritage barley that Vikings are thought to have introduced to Britain in the 8th century. Bere was once widely grown in Orkney and Shetland and is unique amongst UK barley as it is still milled into a flour and used for baking. In the past it was also used to make beer and whisky, and even today a tradition making home brew from Bere still survives in some Orkney farmhouses. To help preserve this unique barley, Valhalla Brewery and the Agronomy Institute of the Orkney College have collaborated to develop this smoky flavoured ale bearing all characteristics of the distinctive grain. Shetland has strong Viking links, and the brewery is named after the hall in the celestial regions, home of the Norse god Odin, where slain Viking warriors were born and to be revived by a horn full of ale. So very, very cool actually, this one. And I really like Nordic heritage actually, Nordic mythology, very, very nice, the Nordic gods. It's a really, really interesting thing to go and read all the stories of these ones. But this guy, as I say, 4.2% golden ale, this one, brewed with that speciality malt, the 6-row ancient malts of the Shetland Islands, and it also has Cascade hop in it from America. It's a plain bottle cap on this one, but without further ado, let's get it open and get on with the tasting here. Really looking forward to this beer. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening on it, just a little bit actually. So we'll get this guy out and get on with the tasting. See if I can get a bit of a head on it, just give it an aggressive pour actually. Really, really attractive looking beer actually. I've heard great things about this brewery, but they are particularly hard to get a hold of. It's very difficult to find their beer in Scotland, and I think it's just because the production is so small. So it's a bit of a shame, because you do hear great things about these guys. But I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the colour of this beer. It's very, very clear. It's a really bright, rich, goldeny amber colour, this one. You can see my fingers through it. It's quite transparent. There's just a little bit of carbonation going up to the bottom of that head there. A nice kind of 3/4 finger, I guess, of a frothy, slightly off-white head, more of a creamy colour actually, but it looks like a very attractive beer. So let's give it a smell and see how we get on here. Sniff. I always do that in some of these videos. I keep sniffing up this beer. So you can smell the sort of barley note in this one. It is very, very unique actually. It's quite a kind of dusty sort of sweet character that it has. So it's quite earthy. The barley malt is quite earthy in this one, I would say. Just sugar it up a little bit. But in this beer you're definitely getting notes of kind of, it's almost got a little bit of a fruity note actually, just coming over the top there. There's a nice kind of underlying caramel that mixes with this particularly unique barley strain actually. But there's a bit of nutty aroma in it as well. It's almost like a toasted barley aroma it has. Where I live in Scotland, in Clackmannanshire, we have the whisky bond, and you do smell the malt being done there down at Diageo, and it has that kind of smell to it. It has this similar kind of barley smell to the beer, but obviously it's a lot less pungent than when you're actually around the distillery down there, or the brewery. But it's a really interesting smell to this one. I've never smelled a golden ale that has such a kind of prominent barley aroma to it, which is quite interesting. But yeah, you've got a nice caramel malt base just under that, and some kind of nutty aromas too, and you're getting a little bit of kind of orangey fruit coming out and some kind of floral character, and that's the characteristic, I guess, of the Cascade hop. Usually you get a little bit of grapefruit as well, which isn't really coming out too much. It's mainly the barley aroma that's coming out of this. So without further ado, let's get on with the tasting of this one. So my first beer ever from the Valhalla Brewery in Unst, in Shetland, the most northern island in Scotland. So here we are. That's very, very unusual actually. On first taste, it kind of builds in, and then you just get this really sharp sort of floral grassy character coming out and bursting along the tongue. Really, really nice. So yeah, you've got a really, really strong barley taste in this one, but it's backed up very, very well by the nice kind of sweet caramel. It's really interesting taste, this one. So it's got a slightly roasted character to it as well, but the caramel in this one blends beautifully well with that nice Bere barley malt in there. Absolutely beautiful. So it's got a really wet mouthfeel as well. That's the one thing you notice about this. This The fruit in this one also blends into that nice barley and caramel flavour as well, and it just moves towards the front of the mouth on the tongue there, and it blends beautifully. Very, very nice. So yeah, blends. That blend of flavours is really interesting. The nice just toasted, roasted barley in this one mixes very well with a nice caramel underlie. There is a little bit of a kind of nutty flavour in there that you can pick that up in the aroma as well, but the nice nutty element does blend in well. But it's mainly the kind of sweet caramel and the sort of almost grapefruity and orange flavour that blends really well in this one. It's a very interesting blend of flavours. That's all you can say with this one, really. Yeah, you've got a really nice bit of kind of floral character coming out in it as well, and it just gives you a little bit of freshness around the edge of the palate there. And you've got, moving into the aftertaste, you've got just this nice little bit of orangey flavour coming out around the front of the tongue there, and then the really nice kind of caramel barley malt base sitting in there. This is a beautiful beer, this one. That's all I can say. It's absolutely amazing, this one. And it's just how unique this one is. It does have a tiny little bit of an earthy character to it, and that probably comes in from the malt just a little bit. The roasted character does, I think, on its own would have quite a bit of a bitter, a kind of bitter edge to it, if that makes sense, or a very dark roasted edge to it. But the sweet caramel just balances it out rightly, and then you get the fruit coming in and just making it this really nice sweet flavour that just kind of moves towards the front of the tongue. It's very well done. This beer is very, very well crafted, and it's really cool how they can have this sort of ancient kind of tradition with this beer and have it come out so well in the modern day. Yes, stunning beer, this one. I mean, I've never tasted a beer quite like this one. It's, as I said at the start of the video, it's a very, very unique one, and I really recommend you give this guy a try if you get the chance. In terms of the mouthfeel with this one, I would say it's mid-bodied. It's actually quite an oily mouthfeel. The carbonation is quite soft. I have it chilled quite a bit, so it does come out just a little bit more. This beer would be absolutely stunning as a cask ale. I need to go up to Shetland and see if I can get a taste of this in one of the local pubs that will have it as a cask ale. I'm sure that malt base would come out even more, and it'd be a really even richer beer than this. It does have a tiny little bit of alcohol warmth, I think, or maybe that's the sort of roasted character of the malt coming out a little bit more, but it gives you a little bit of warmth just down in here. But overall, a very kind of mid-bodied beer, just a teeny bit of warmth coming out of it. It's quite an oily mouthfeel, and there is just a little bit of dry character, very, very little though, and that just comes from the sort of kind of aromatic-y and floral character from the hops, and you just get that going around the edge of the tongue and a little bit just in the middle. But overall, this is an absolutely beautiful beer, and as I say, very, very unique to the Shetland Islands. So if you do find yourself in Scotland, get yourself up to the Highlands and Islands and have a look at this place. The most beautiful part of our country here, but the whole country is very, very scenic, but you know, these places really do kind of stand on their own, if you like. But this is a very, very beautiful beer. It's a very special beer, brewed with these ancient malts that come out beautifully in the beer. So all I can say is give it a try. You really have to with this one, and hopefully they do start to expand their operation a little bit and make it a bit more easy to get a hold of their stuff, because that's the only downside to this brewery, from what I'm told, is the difficulty in getting a hold of their beer. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review, a very special one that we've done for this number 9 video in the series. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it yourself. I always enjoy reading your comments, so please do. And please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I will be back tomorrow with another Scottish beer review for you then. Cheers!